The OnePlus 7 Pro goes head to head with the S10 Plus on so many areas. Let's start with that screen. The screen on the OnePlus 7 Pro is actually bigger than on the S10 Plus. You get a 6.7 inch screen versus 6.4 on the Samsung. They both have that curved screen. They both look incredible. They both have tiny bezels, but wow, that OnePlus 7 Pro, the bezels on this thing are tiny, including that bottom bezel. And of course, there's no hole punch, there's no notch. It is absolutely full screen. The OnePlus 7 Pro has a 90 Hz refresh rate, and that's something you don't get with the Samsung. This makes the phone just feel so incredibly quick and snappy when you're browsing through menus and through apps. It is one of the first non-gaming centric phones to have this very fast 90 Hz refresh rate. An area that you do have to give up on for getting that incredible bezel-less display is the size and the weight and the thickness of the OnePlus 7 Pro. Because you've got that pop-up camera inside, the body is a bit thicker and also it's a bit heavier, so it's definitely heavier than the Samsung. Having said that, that's just a compromise you have to make for having that pop-up camera. Whether you like the pop-up camera or not is up to you. It's definitely quick, and we've seen it is very durable as well, but some people just aren't going to like the pop-up camera versus having no mechanisms in there like on the Samsung. Internals, they both carry the Snapdragon 855 processor. The Samsung also uses their Exynos in some markets. We've seen that the Snapdragon is probably the better chip out of those two. It has better battery life, and in terms of RAM options, it goes from 6, 8 and 12 on the OnePlus 7 Pro, 8 and 12 on the Samsung. But here is something else that the OnePlus 7 has that the Samsung doesn't, and that is it's the first phone to use UFS 3 memory. This is something that was supposed to be debuted in the Galaxy Fold device, obviously having problems there. So OnePlus is now the first phone to use this technology. This is in fact Samsung technology, although it's first being used in a OnePlus 7 device. This again is supposed to speed up the phone, making load times quicker. Loading data from the memory is supposed to be quicker than previous generations. So how about the back cameras on both of these phones? Whereas the Samsung's main camera is a 12 megapixel shooter, the OnePlus 7 Pro is using a 48 megapixel main camera. They both have optical image stabilization on there, and so far you can see that actually main camera images across both the phones are pretty comparable. They both have an ultra-wide camera, and of course both have a zoom camera. The zoom camera on the Samsung goes in 2 times, and the zoom camera on the OnePlus 7 Pro can zoom in 3 times optically. Something that is a little disappointing at this moment in time, very near to launch, is that you can't shoot video on the OnePlus 7 Pro's ultra-wide camera. This is something that I personally really enjoy using, so not having that option at the moment is a little bit disappointing, but the hardware is there, so that should come in a software update down the road. The front cameras on both of these are front cameras, pretty average. Of course, you get the pop-up in the OnePlus 7 Pro, and it's in that notch on the Samsung. The Samsung does have dual cameras there, but the secondary camera is for depth information. You can't take any pictures with that one. Something that the front camera on the Samsung has that the OnePlus 7 Pro doesn't is the ability to shoot 4K from that front camera. Both phones have stereo speakers, which is a big plus for me personally. Having a mono speaker at the bottom there just isn't great. And for a flagship type phone, which both of these are, having stereo speakers is a must. But having stereo speakers on both phones is definitely a positive. The S10 Plus has a slightly bigger battery than the OnePlus 7 Pro, 4,100 mAh versus the OnePlus's 4,000 mAh. That won't make any real difference in the real world using that day to day, but something that might is the fast charging on the OnePlus 7 Pro. The fast charging on the OnePlus 7 Pro is 30 watt. That's going to give you a very quick charge, and it's much quicker than the Samsung's. However, the Samsung does have wireless charging, which is a big positive for me, and the OnePlus 7 Pro doesn't. OnePlus 7 just haven't included it in this year's device. You get fast wired charging, but if wireless charging is important for you, then you'll have to go with the Samsung.